Hello, my name is Alan G. Richards Sr. I'm a senior police officer with the Waynesboro Police Department. The question is asked, how do you supervise and defund the police society? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is to first of all get a complete, clear understanding of what exactly is it meant to define a police agency. Well, that particular question and that particular defunding of police has different meaning. For example, in large police agencies, you can defund a police agency, allocate funds to go elsewhere outside the police department, but yet, nevertheless, the agency continue to function as a police department. In some of your smaller agencies, defunding police officers and defunding a police agency can very well easily mean that the police department itself will be completely disbanded and all police officer will be lost of a position of as an officer for that particular agency. For the purpose of this period of instruction, I would indicate that defunding police in today's society will actually mean reallocating the funds to go elsewhere, and yet the police department will continue to operate as an agency. Now, with this being said, the next question that comes to mind is, why should any police agency be faced with defunding? Well, according to today's society, there's a lot that's going on, and with the Black Lives Matter protesters and their campaign has been protesting, indicating that they are disturbed, angry, and upset because of the deaths of George Floyd. We all know the situation of him being murdered in the state of Minnesota, where the police officer placed his knee upon his neck until he could no longer breathe. Then you have Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, Georgia, who actually was asleep in his car. And when the police arrived, subsequently one thing leads to another, and Rayshard Brooks began to flee from the scene, but yet the police officer still managed to shoot him in the back several times, causing him to be fatally wounded as well. Let's not forget Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was a young lady in Louisville, Kentucky, who was fatally wounded in her own home when the police executed a warrant, at the wrong apartment, and as a result, she lost her life. And then, of course, you got Ahmaud Arbery, who was actually jogging through the neighborhood, and while jogging through the neighborhood, he was approached by three white males, and unfortunately, they subsequently ended up fatally wounding him as he fought for his life, also down in Brunswick, Georgia. And the list goes on and on and on with different people who have had encounters such as Eric Gardner and Michael Brown and more. But once we get an understanding of finding out why people are upset, the next thing to do is figure out how are we going to approach that as a police agency in this type of society of an angry rage, of an angry mob, as people might say sometimes. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is, as a police supervisor in a defund police society, three things come to mind that I think that is important, that need to be addressed to police officers that falls under my supervision. Those three things that come to mind are, first, for one, would be training and education. I would get all police officers that's under my supervision and make sure that they're well educated on, one, what's actually going on in today's society. Once we make sure everybody clearly understands what's going on with today's society as far as the Black Lives Matter, the personnel's being upset, disturbed, and frustrated, and understand the protesters. Then we would properly train everyone as is so that they can know how to face these types of encounter. Training is very important. One of the things that we would possibly train on would be de-escalating tactics. A few de-escalating tactics that comes to mind for me as a veteran police officer is verbal judo, being able to de-escalate things from a verbal standpoint before getting involved into physical encounters. Even then, if things still subsequently leads to a higher and aggravated nature, we still have to focus it with more training on the use of force and making sure that all officers only use that reasonable amount of necessary force to subdue their suspect without becoming excessive. That's very important within the training. In addition to the training, you continue to educate police officers so that police officers be aware that administrators now will be enforcing the rules and regulation and utilizing their authority to disband and terminate police officers who are not within the guidelines and considered to be problem police officer. Those problem police officers will be removed from the agency primarily because they would be considered to be toxic and continue to cause the police agency to have more and more problems. So what is best to do is to go ahead on and eliminate those police officers from their position. So officers need to be aware of what they're faced against. That's the first thing. The second thing is mandating wearing the body cams at all times. Police officers need to be aware that when they put this body camera on a daily basis, and when they go to every call, there's no such thing as a routine call. So every encounter that you get into, it is very wise and smart to always turn your body cam on as soon as you exit out of your vehicle. Once you turn your body cam on, keep the body cam on until the call is terminated. Young police officers definitely need to learn and understand that these body cams are designed to help protect them in the event if there's any type of allegation that's made against them, and it's also designed to protect them against any types of use of force that could possibly take place. So with this being said, it is very important that that police officer is aware that when they fail to abide by these guidelines, they put themselves in harm's way. So you want to make sure that the police officer understand the importance of their body cam, that it's mandatory and it's mandated by the agency to make sure they wear their body cam, not just wear it, but turn it on in the event of every encounter that they are faced up against. Those police officers who are not within those, who are not in compliance with that, can easily be reprimanded, if not terminated. So this is very important that police officers are aware of that type of encounter. And lastly, the third thing would be is community policing. It's very important that police officers today understand the importance of community policing. With so much animosity and so much anger and tension that's being dispersed within the community, it's going to be a tough task, but it can be eventually easily accomplished. Police officers need to go out into the community and interact with the community and establish a level of trust that they could be trusted on and they could be believed upon, because that's what you're going to be facing with the angry mobs here now, that they don't want to believe that police officers are there to render aid and assist them. So it's going to be very important to be very proactive in the community, try to build trust, and encourage neighbors in the neighborhood to build what we call a neighborhood watch program. Building a neighborhood watch program will allow the community to collaborate and work with the police agency when in the event when crimes has occurred in their neighborhood. So that's going to be very important. Understanding that the community, that police officer under my supervision must know that the Black Lives Matter campaign are already arguing that the law does not protect them. And of course, with them thinking that the law does not protect them, they also are thinking that the law does not save their lives. Protesters are now advocating for this systematic change to occur that requires a complete realignment of all police agencies across the United States. One thing I would suggest that all police officers do at all time who are faced with these types of encounters is remain professional at all time. Police officers should never lose their sense of professionalism. They should never lose their demeanor and cause themselves to take matters in a personal hand. That should never take place. So also be in mind that it is purposely designed so that some of these protesters is to antagonize you and frustrate you. Police officers should never respond with anger. You should never respond with frustration. So always be professional. The yes ma'am, the no ma'am, the yes sir, the no sir. Keep your composure. In any event, if it matters get out of hand, I always let the police officers know, young officers, notify supervisors and advise your locations and things of this nature so we can arrive and help implement and support one another on these cases. But last but not least, you want to continue to try to build some type of morale within the agency, because it's frustrating enough, and with the agitation that's going on from the community, it can very well easily overflow into the department and cause morale to go down. So as a police supervisor, one of the things that I would probably do to enforce in my supervision to help build morale is come up with some different ways to implement good tactics to say, hey, these police officer was officer of the month for doing the job well done. Give a couple of attaboys here and there. Those little small things goes a long way, but more importantly, it let the police officer know that, one, they're appreciated, two, that they're doing a great job, and three, more importantly, that you care about them as a supervisor and you're here to support them and you're willing to provide any type of assistance that you can as a supervisor in charge of them during the course of that duty. That's about it. That's all I have to bring in regards to how you supervise a defund police in today's society. Thank you and have a great day.